code first the underlying disease, which is the 275, and it tells me I have to have a fifth digit, and so the fifth digit indicates the shoulder region, and that's where the 1 comes from. Make sense? Does when you look at it that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then when it says code first, so if you just go to chondrocalcinosis of the shoulder region due to, and you go and find that and come here, you automatically know to go back to the first disease, the underlying.
The book helps you that if you mess up, it tries to get you back in the right place.
Yeah.
But you've got to have read the tabular to get the benefit. All right, now that was mandatory multiple coding, talking about the dual classification. Now we go into discretionary multiple coding, which is on the bottom of page 44. And that's code if applicable. Oh, so that's telling you to use your judgment, isn't it? Any causal condition first. That means that if you've got that multiple codes should be assigned only if the causal condition is documented as being present. So this is going to put you on a little hunt and search expedition here. For example, ulcer of lower limbs except pressure ulcer requires that the code to identify post-phlebitic syndrome with ulcer be assigned as a first listed code or principal diagnosis, but only if it is documented as being the cause of the ulcer. I don't know about you, but that's awful wording. Doesn't mean a whole lot, so let's look it up. All right, let's look up 707.1. When they give you examples in the book, they really intend for you to stop and look those examples up because you're not going to get the full meaning of the example until you do. 707.1 is an ulcer of lower limbs except decubitus, or except a bed sore. Notice there's a code, if applicable, any causal condition first. So if you know what the causal condition is, because it's been stated, it's been documented, then you will code the cause first. For instance, if it was atherosclerosis of the extremities with ulceration that resulted in an ulcer of the lower limbs, would you also code 440.23 along with your 707.1? Yes, you would. If diabetes had caused the ulcer of the lower limbs, would you also code diabetes? What would you code first? The diabetes would. So again, this is if applicable. So that very word, if applicable, means you got to look at this. It's not an absolute. You got to think about it. All right, so that gives us some examples under exercise 6.3. Let's take a look at the acute cystitis due to E. coli infection. All right, what are the conditions of this patient? Are there really two? Yeah, I've got cystitis. And that in itself is an infection, so we know it's E. coli, so we've got to be on the lookout for that. All right, the chief condition here is the cystitis, so I'm going to the alphabetic and look up cystitis. It is acute. It is caused by E. coli. All right, cystitis has some non-essential modifiers. We're not really worried about those. We look at our combining forms with abortion, with ectopic, with fibrosis. None of those are relevant, are they? But we do have an acute cystitis code. And there we've got the 595.0. All right, we look that up in our tabular. .0 cystitis, use additional code to identify organism such as Escherichia coli or E. coli 041.4. Oh, that's a hint right there that it's going to be that. But how could I have been absolutely sure that was my right code? I'd go back to the alphabetic and I'd look up infection and I'd look up E. coli infection. And what code would I have gotten? .4. Is that not the same code? Yeah, it was. And let's look up 041.4 in the tabular. And 041.4 is 041 is bacterial infection in conditions classified elsewhere and of unspecified site. .4 is E. coli. So again, if we will let the book, it will lead us into the right codes if you'll read what's there. Let's take a look at number 2. Our condition is gastritis. It's an alcoholic gastritis. So I've got an inflammation of the stomach due to alcohol. Gastritis alcoholic gives me a 535.3. All right, underneath that I see a box that tells me that for every 535 code, I've got to either have a 0 or a 1, meaning with or without hemorrhage. There's no mention of hemorrhage, so what's my 5th digit? 0. So let's look up 535.30. And 535.30 tells us alcoholic gastritis without mention of hemorrhage. All right, well that was the gastritis, but did that code do anything for the chronic alcoholism? No. So now I've got to code the alcoholism, don't I? So I go right back to the alphabetic. I look up alcoholism.
So, Ms. Gaines, even when you do know what you're doing, you never go to leave the alphabet and the tablet. You know, the alphabet always follow the steps regardless of how long you've been doing it, right?
Exactly. You'll never get away from that, ever. So I go to alcoholism, chronic, 303.9. I do have a C also code that tells me that if 303.9 is not adequate enough, then I need to see also alcoholism. But just for curiosity, if I go to alcoholism and I go to chronic, what am I going to get? Same code, right? So now let's go to 303.9 and check it in the tabular. And 303.9 is other and unspecified alcohol dependence. Included in that is chronic alcoholism.